Hello. So our body is a little like a clock. They talk in terms of the circadian rhythms and the body clock, um, and several kinds of rhythms that affects our own body. For example, the heartbeat, the respiratory rhythms. But there's also the rhythms of the day and night. Everybody experiences day and night differently depending on the geography you're in. And one of the things I do is what I call as recalibrate. What that means is um, our heartbeat, respiratory rhythms, different physiological functions of our body. When we are paying attention to the details, from the moment of, say, when we wake up, through the day, say afternoon time, evening, as the sun goes down, our body functions differently. And when we pay attention to the difference in how our body is functioning during different times of the day, you will notice that there are physiologically, which means how our body functions. Now, it may seem like I'm repeating myself, but for example, food we eat digests differently during the daytime when the sun's up and during the nighttime after the sun sets. Digestion is different, and how our body experiences the food or what goes into our body, say what is eaten in the daytime, when you eat that during the nighttime or after the sunset, our body digests it differently. Same body, but you could say that's because okay, there's a sunlight and no sunlight. And sunlight has its effect on our body. So you could call it as circadian rhythms, where we relate the idea of circadian rhythms to the presence or absence of sunlight. But consider circadian rhythms as a word, phrase, itself means cyclical rhythms, circadian rhythms. And our heartbeat, for example, or our body's physiological functions, for example, how our muscles function. Um, when we are sitting for a long time, when we are standing for a long time, or lying down for a long time, is different from a person who may be standing for a long time. Somebody sitting for a long time functions differently. The same set of muscles functions differently for a person who sits for a long time versus a person who stands for a long time. Could say that's because of the gravitational effect. Same human body, but how the muscles respond is different. And that is not necessarily related with sunlight or not. Similarly, you could eat different kinds of food and how your body responds because of what's gone into your body, much like a car that functions by petrol or diesel. Good quality petrol, not so good quality petrol. Different effects. For example, speed, or how often your engine needs to be serviced, or how fast you can go, or how smoothly you can go. Different effects. Similarly, the food we eat affects how we function or what we can do. And also the metabolic efficiency of our body. Good natural food versus it has a little bit of, say, oil you've used has been used since a few weeks. And well, it's just oil. You just making your stuff. It's all tasty still, but it's not the same effect. So how our body functions by, okay, so you could say, okay, fresh food makes a difference versus processed, packed, has been there in storage since some time and then you're using it. Difference. Veg versus non-veg makes a difference. Also because how the food that goes into the body is metabolized. Now, this may seem like, okay, now a dialogue on metabolism and what kind of food to eat versus not. But I'm bringing your attention to how our physiology gets affected or affects the food that goes into our body. Vegetarian food has a different metabolic pathway than non-vegetarian. It's also because of the, let's just say, biochemistry. You could say it's still protein. You can break it down to protein, carbohydrates, fat. But the kind of pathway, Ayurveda or ancient science people have been calling it as the sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. Um, let's just say when you're eating meat or eggs or fish, the direction of the metabolism is a little to the other side versus vegetarian or other than non-veg is to this side. There's a different taste to it. The pathway of metabolism is different when you're eating vegetarian versus non-vegetarian. Now, there's a reason why they're calling it as non-veg and veg. And how your body has to process that set of biochemicals is different from how vegetarian set of biochemicals are processed. Much debate, much discussions may be needed about this on how our physiology, in terms of circadian rhythms, is affected by the biochemistry, the fuel that goes into our body. And then there's a difference of, say, packaged food, say, desiccated proteins, for example. That's quite a popular thing these days to supplement the body with proteins. But desiccated proteins versus beans or proteins, which is more naturally found in, say, plant vegetables, and how our body processes it and what happens to our physiology was from this versus that is different and may not be studied as well as it needs to be. Body clock, circadian rhythms, biophysiology. And there is an aspect of it which is not thought about or not known popularly. And that is each of us occupy a different position in the on the geography of Earth. Now, I'm from Srinagar, Bengaluru. You may be from the US of A, Africa, Iran. The next block from where I live. Each of us are on different latitude and longitude. If you look at Earth as a grid, we are all occupying a different latitude, longitude, geodecimal location on Earth. And every square inch on Earth has a different story because the grains of sand, let's call it the sands of time, the grains of sand that I stand on is different from the grains of sand you stand on. And those grains of sand didn't just form overnight. They have a story of their own. Say there's been a wind, a breeze. That grain of sand was brought from, say, a forest somewhere, yeah, or from some mountaintop, and you're standing on it. So what difference does it make? It's the sands of time. Time brought these different grains of sand from different places, much like water in an ocean is brought from a river or a pool or a stream or a rivulet or from rain, from treetops. And they each have their own story to add to the ocean, just as each grain of sand have their own story to add to that geodecimal location, which that grain of sand now is in. Now, how does it affect our life? The potato you eat is not necessarily the potato somebody else's eat. Okay, you could say, oh, potato. But it's more like the quality of, say, petrol into your vehicle and diesel into another vehicle, or a different quality of petrol in another vehicle, and what that does to that particular vehicle. And what you do at this point in time with the resources available to you, with or without the awareness of what that is doing to your body and what you do after having eaten it. Let me repeat. When you're aware of what you're eating and what that's doing to your body, and consequently, what activities you do or don't do at this point in time is different when you're aware versus not aware. You could say, oh, this is my life. This is how life is. Yeah. And you're at the affect of things. You could be blaming things. It's all because of them. Versus when you're aware that it could be because of the geodesimal location you are in. Each geodesimal location has its own story in the whole scheme of things. And you are at this point in time in this geography. And you can keep running. Say you are traveling from one place to another place, and you would say jet lag. The jet lag is also coming from your being aware of your circadian rhythms being different and affected by the geodesimal location that you are now in. So you travel from one country to another. The latitude and longitude is different. And your body clock needs to adjust to this geodesimal locations, piezoelectric effect or the electromagnetic effect on your body clock. And consequently, you may be a little zoomed up. Yeah. So when we're not considering a jet lag, even if, say, you're going out to buy grocery and coming back home, it may take a little while. They say for your molecules to settle, it takes about half an hour. When you're aware of your body's clock and the body's rhythms in this geodesimal location, it may take a little longer. Particularly, for example, if you have been interacting with a crowd and then you are alone, say in a park, it may take a little more while for your body clock to settle into, oh, alone in a park, versus from a crowded place, you go into another building, where the power is off and you can't even turn the fan on. Yeah. So your wellness factor will depend on you being aware of your body clock and then recalibrating your system so that you're in a well-finding state, well-tuned, adjusted to this place, going beyond the jet lag of having gone out to buy some grocery and then attended a group setting with a lot of people, and then here, and then your body clock needs to reset. Yeah. And there is the how to of it. I will talk about that in the next video. Yeah. Thank you so much for your kind attention. I'm just trying to introduce you to an idea of why paying attention to a body as a clock is important in our ability to maintain health, in our choices of food we eat, for example, the choices of activities we do, and why you may be noticing certain behavioral patterns because a person may not be aware of their body clock's response to, for example, the amount of gadgets around them. Sometimes that could be the case. And they've just jet lagged from a crowded place, come to another place, which has a certain history and are surrounded amongst different kinds of gadgets and are having a certain effect. Yeah, because the fan's not on, they haven't had something warm to drink, and they're going through an emotional something. You might think, oh, why? Maybe a little bit of care will help them. Otherwise, people may be too soon to call them as a patient. That may not be the case. It may just be that the body clock has had a little moment, yeah, that they need to then tune into and then be fine. And a little care around will help that person, that system, to be better adjusted. Otherwise, we'll keep popping a pill every few minutes, every few instances. Yeah, and we already have WHO's global list of diseases. One of the causes may be not being aware of this. So I'll keep speaking on this. Thank you so much for your kind attention. I hope this has been of value to you. Good day.